Can you say your name before you speak?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursalin Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Idris Tawfiq. I'm a British writer and broadcaster. I live in Egypt. I'm visiting the UK this week to speak at the debate at Cambridge Union on Thursday. I was honoured this afternoon to spend time with Lord Sheikh in the House of Lords. And I just want to make three brief points. The first one is, Lord Sheikh showed me in Westminster Hall the spot where in 1649 our head of state was impeached and then he was taken to the gallows, he was taken to the block and was killed. It stayed in this country many centuries to establish the vibrant democracy that we have at the moment in these islands. And as you say, sir, the things that have happened in the Maldives in just 2 years are quite remarkable. And in fact, what's happening at the moment in the Maldives, there's a word for it. All of this shouting and fighting and arguing and protesting, there's a word for it. It's called democracy. That is the word. And it's a wonderful thing that is going on. And inshallah, it will continue and we will support it. The second point, you mentioned, sir, the help that Britain is giving. Well, indeed, Britain does have a lot to contribute. But we mustn't forget something very important. Her Excellency mentioned at the beginning that extremism is one of the threats. Islamic extremism is one of the threats in the Maldives. I was invited there in the summer by the Ministry of Islamic Affairs to give lectures on Islam to Muslims in the Maldives. And just before going to that, I think we should be careful. We should offer all help and assistance we possibly can as parliamentarians and as democracies in the world, but we should avoid that help becomes interference. We don't want to turn the Maldives into a UK democracy. We want to establish in the Maldives a Maldives democracy. We don't want to turn it into Westminster. They have a rich history. You know, that they can teach us about history. You have the most beautiful country I've ever been to in my life. It's just a wonderful place, and the people are delightful. So we must be careful when the British Council sets its foot somewhere. We have to be careful what messages and what values it's taking to where it's going. And the third point is this point of Islamic extremism, Your Excellency. You know, young people. I speak all over the world about Islam, especially young people at universities, so on. And young people, when they see things falling apart, when you enter the Maldives, you have to fill in an immigration form for a customs declaration. Are you taking in alcohol? Are you taking in cigarettes? Are you taking in idols of worship? Because this is a 100% Muslim country. And I said to the minister, I said, okay, you can take idols of worship off the people as they come on the plane, but how do you stop them coming into the country through the internet and through the television or the radio waves? Young people in the Maldives, it seems to me, through talking to them, are being battered by many things at the moment. You mentioned drugs. There are many problems that young Maldivians face. And it's easy, when you can't see an answer, to go to extremes. So I think the Maldives ought to seek the help of the organisation Islamic Conference for sure. There's big help going to come from there. But also, a country that invests in its young people has a future. You know, and you need to do something to stop these wonderful young people who are here tonight. It's wonderful to see them, to stop them staying here. We want them to go back. Otherwise, they'll see all these things coming from outside that's being presented by the British Council and elsewhere, and they'll leave and they'll go to New York and America and Australia, and they'll stay, and they won't come back. You want to find ways of encouraging them to rejoice in what they have in the Maldives, which is truly wonderful.
Thank you.
Teach us about it. That's my point.
Thank you very much. These are very important points, and I think we are here to assist people of Maldives to establish the democracy they want. We are not here to impose the democracy of Westminster or New York or Washington, but we are here, and that is the purpose of this meeting even. We are not saying that impose the democracy which we have established here, and we are still struggling to establish it better or refine it, and we are working on it. So it is up to the countries and people of those countries what sort of democracy they want. My Lord, would you like to speak? Lord Sheikh, we had a wonderful dinner last night, fundraising dinner. In Lords and House of Commons, you can't have fundraising, but it was a fundraising or profile-raising dinner last night of Peace. Peace is an organization which is establishing schools in Uganda. And Lord Sheikh came from Uganda before coming to Britain, and I think it was wonderful. Over 120 people attended, and including the managing director of Costa Coffee. So when you go there next time, you know the money you are spending will go, or a part of it will go for education in African countries. Can I invite Lord Sheikh to speak on Maldives?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll follow on what Andrew has said. There was a group of parliamentarians from both sides of the House, and David came with us. And we spent a day in Maldives. We arrived in the morning and we left by the evening. The country is going through, I think, slightly difficult period. Because for a period of nearly 30 years, Abdul Qayyum was the president. He won 6 consecutive elections. And in a way, he was quite a hard man. There were problems, there were attempted coup, they had to bring in troops from India. There were Tamil mercenaries there. And there were violent protests during 2004 and 2005. Then President Qayyum legalized political parties. 2008 elections were held when Mr. Nasheed won. And I found Mr. Nasheed quite an articulate person and also conciliatory in his attitude, because as Andrew has said, he said to us that he's not going to hound the previous president. So I thought that that was very conciliatory, whereas previously it happens, I've seen countries where the incoming president has a go at the outgoing president. Now, Maldives, there are about 1,100 islands, population of over 300,000. There are 77 parliamentarians. And we had a very fruitful time, Andrew, with a speaker who was very honest. His name is Abdullah Shah, very honest. And he said that sometimes he finds it difficult to maintain peace in Parliament, seriously, because it gets quite rowdy. They got a lovely building, lovely Parliament. We actually went inside the chamber. And you have a situation where there are, like I've said, 77 parliamentarians. Maybe the maximum size of a constituency is made up of perhaps 5,000 constituents. The speaker, we asked the speaker, how many constituents does he have in his area? And he said 1,000. So, firstly, you got, for the size of the country, bear in mind you've got 300,000 total population. You've got 77 parliamentarians. So, and Andrew's absolutely right, the ages of these parliamentarians, some of them are very young. We spend time with the, like I've said, with the speaker, with the president, with the opposition members of parliament. In fact, I couldn't be in on the meeting because I had to go somewhere. The first lot we found to be very hostile. It seems to be a lot of infighting there. I think some of it is due to immaturity, you know, because perhaps they're not matured enough. And I think more needs to be done with regard to perhaps helping these parliamentarians. The other complaint which we were told was that there isn't the rapport between the parliamentarians and the executive. That's right, isn't it? They made a point very clear. So there is help needs to be provided there as to the executive and the parliamentarians can work together. I think that's an important point. Andrew mentioned about the judiciary. We spent half an hour, 45 minutes with the Chief Justice. Now we got to bear in mind is the country practices Sharia law. Yes. But I think we need to provide them help. And the point we want to do is we don't want to interfere with your laws. We're not saying you shouldn't have Sharia law. But I think where they need help is perhaps putting together systems, perhaps how they should work basically. And I think it will be wrong for us to say you should be doing this, we shouldn't be doing that. And the brother at the back mentioned about the idols situation. Well, of course, this is the way they want to apply the immigration rules, and I think we need to accept that. But I think we could perhaps give them assistance with regard to how they can administer their judiciary within their existing legal systems. Now, also got to bear in mind, I mean, the highest point in the Maldives is perhaps no more than 2.5 meters. And I think climate change is going to be a big issue. And I was told that they were setting up a sovereign fund whereby they perhaps want to buy land in Sri Lanka or India in case of flooding. So economically, obviously, they would be very, and people-wise, of course, they would be very badly affected if the sea level was to rise. Like Andrew has said, it was just a matter of coincidence that Kamlesh Sharma was there when we were there, because of course Commonwealth can do more there to perhaps assist them with regard to their parliamentary systems, with regard to giving them help, with regard to certainly their judiciary. And I think that that the country has a bright future, because I was very much impressed by Mr. Nasheed, really, and I'm sure that my colleagues also will. We found the speaker an honest person, was telling us all the facts. So those are my thoughts. With regard to extremism, we didn't discuss that, and I'm not aware of extremism. It's a point which we did not discuss. Obviously, it has had a situation where there have been a violent protest. In fact, Mr. Nasheed is a former journalist, and I think he was in prison as well. So the man has got scars on his back as well. But I think he's the right man. I think he's got the right temperament. But certainly we, United Kingdom, we can perhaps render them assistance, but let's not interfere with the way they want to operate.
Thank you. I'm going to allow the speaker to respond at the end, if you don't mind, before the people can have just a quick comment by
I just want to make a quick comment.
Minister, yeah.
Yes, we don't really have Sharia law in the Maldives. Some of our laws are based on Sharia, but it's not really Sharia.
Well, okay, sorry.
I just want to correct, yeah,
okay, that's fine. That perhaps I misunderstood what the Chief had just did say. Well, thank you for pointing that.